Welcome back to the channel, Packet People, and we have Gerald Combs himself in the flesh back with us to tell us a bit more about Wireshark's little brother. So first of all, let's welcome Gerald back to the channel. Welcome, Gerald.
Well, thank you. It's great to be here.
It's great to have you back. Now, in our last video, we were talking about Stratoshark and why this tool was needed and how it's a complement to Wireshark in that while Wireshark analyzes the wire, Stratoshark analyzes syscalls and logs. But doesn't that seem like a great way to start to interact with other aspects of the IT organization or even other silos?
I mean, if you work on the networking side of a company, especially since we're early days in this application, if you want to blow your coworkers' minds, this would be a really good way to do that. You could pull down Stratoshark and say, hey, check this out, because you already know your way around the application because it's worked just like Wireshark. And you can just say, hey, look at this. I'm looking at system calls and show them that you can apply this to the thing the stuff that they deal with on a daily basis.
So nice. That really can help us to look into that world and even help to troubleshoot problems that exist in that environment. So great. So you mentioned blowing their minds, but first you're going to blow our mind, Gerald. So can you do a demo for us with Stratoshark?
Absolutely. Let's get my screen shared.
Now, Gerald, while you're bringing that up, that looks like a fantastic interface you got there.
Thanks. It should look very familiar to anybody who uses Wireshark. And that's the important thing. And that was one of the things that went into the design and the thinking about this. We wanted a tool that could utilize Wireshark's feature set so it would be immediately familiar to a bunch of people and be immediately usable. And at the top we have a list of capture files, although those aren't network captures, those are system captures. And down below we have a list of capture sources, but they're not network interfaces. They let you capture CloudTrail logs or GCP audit logs or capture system calls from or Linux system remotely, through a little tool called Sysdig.
And Gerald, if I'm reading this right, sorry to interrupt you, I think I see SCAP as the end of that file name instead of PCAP. Is that right?
Yes, where PCAP stands for packet capture, SCAP stands for system capture or system call capture. And in some of the internal documentation where I work, it's a Sysdig capture, but the term I think we've kind of settled on is system capture. Click on this first item here. This is a capture of a curl process that I took because I lack imagination and that's all I captured. But it's great for demo purposes. And as you can see, there's this list of things that looks like a packet list, but those aren't packets. Those are system calls. And you can see things like the system call name under the event name column and the process name under the proc name column and the process ID and the thread ID and so on. And if we go down below here, we can see information about that process. We can see all the arguments that were passed to it. We can see the process ancestors. We can, if we're running in a container, we can see container information, but in this case, I was just running directly on the host and things like that. As you can see, we can apply coloring rules because this uses uses the same dissection engine as Wireshark. And so if I scroll down, I can see that we have categories applied to all these different types of system calls.
Gerald, I see I think you're leading us there, but up there on a display filter. So what you're saying is we can also do some filtering for these calls or logs. Is that right?
Yeah. One of the things that we wanted to provide was that same capability that you get in Wireshark for being able to drill down and see the exact traffic that you want to see and apply that to system calls into logs. If we type in this filter, fd.name contains etc, we can see file descriptor activity that happened in the etc directory on the system. And for instance, if we go down here, we can see that, the curl utility opened up the CA-cert file in the system, which, that's kind of expected behavior. If I right click, much like you can follow a network stream on Wireshark, you can follow a file descriptor stream and see what that process was reading and writing and things like that, which is
nice.
Yeah, exactly. This is a really cool feature, I think. Let's go ahead and close that. If we change that filter slightly and say fd.name contains lib, we can see what libraries the application loaded. For instance, let's scroll it back up to the top. Let's click on this event. If we right click on this, If you look down below, not only do we see event system, event information that we get from libsync and libscap, which we talked about in the previous video, we also, if you look down here, you see something called executable and linkable format. And this is a really good example of combining the FACO libs and Wireshark's dissection engine, because, like I said, we have all this process information that libsync and libscap give us, but down below this ELF executable linkable format line, that's handled internally within Wireshark. I don't know if a lot of people know this, but Wireshark has an ELF dissector, meaning that it can dissect the executable format on Linux. So if you're running on Wireshark on Linux, you can use Wireshark to open up Wireshark.
It can open up itself.
Exactly.
Nice.
But this is just an example of taking these tools and combining them and just getting the best out of them, I think.
Now, quickly, Gerald, up there on the top on the process list, you have RW. So is that read write? Is that a directional arrow there?
That's a great example, Chris. If you aren't familiar with the development side of Wireshark, you can extend it using Lua scripts. Lua is this little, well, I won't say little, but it's a very powerful scripting language. What I've done here is take a Lua script that kind of extends the system call dissector and draws these little up and down arrows for activity that shows read-write activity.
That's great. And just asking because, this is, I'm also getting up to speed on this as well. I noticed the event name, you have reads, you have some closes. If I wanted to filter on all reads and closes, or even right there, is that pread?
Yeah. That's just the internal name that Linux has for, I forget what pread does exactly, but yes, that is a system call that reads data.
Nice. So could you take that column and just drag it upstairs and drop it in the filter view like you can with other fields in Wireshark? Yep, just drag and drop that up to the display filter.
You can do exactly that.
Yeah, you can create your column, which you just did, but you could also drop that up to the display filter and it would just show you all the reads, right?
Yep, you can do
reads
exactly
correct.
that as well.
Nice. Good. Okay,
yeah.
that functionality. Oh, nice.
Yep.
That's great, Gerald. No, that looks good. So we have our event names, we have our read write, process name, process ID, the TID and FD.
TID is thread ID and FD is file descriptor.
There we go.
So this would be file descriptor number 3.
Nice.
Typically on Linux and Unix systems, file descriptors start with 0, then 1, 2, and 3, and so on.
And in which kind of cases would down there on the right, a juicy column is usually username. So did we capture any of those in this one?
It isn't really shown in this capture, but yes, we can capture the username and the group name as well. I'm not sure why it's showing up as NA here, but like I said, it's early days for the project, so that's probably just a little thing that needs to be fixed.
That's nice, because then that gives us the who generated
Exactly.
this, and if there's any outliers there, if it's admin or if it's some guest account, that would also help us to do some strange behavior digging as well. Nice. All right, what else, Gerald?
This is going to sound silly, but if I go up to the statistics menu, it's kind of sparse. And the reason I want to show you that is because, one of the questions when developing Stratoshark, and it's a valid question, is why you didn't just fold all this into Wireshark. Well, if you go to look at Wireshark up here in the stats menu and the telephony menu, they're just full of features. And I wanted Stratoshark to be able to stand on its own. And the reason I'm showing this empty stats menu is because I fully expect it to be filled in with really cool features as time goes on. And that's one of the things that I'm really excited about working on this project.
And that makes sense, too. It might get a little confusing if you have packets and calls and logs right from the jump.
Exactly, yeah.
Now, I noticed as well, Gerald, something that we spend a lot of time with Wireshark on is creating profiles, setting up coloring rules, setting up filters, saving those filters. And it looks like over there up on the top right, you already have some filter buttons there. So you want to talk a little bit about those?
Sure. If we open up the filter button preferences, you can see that there are There are actually quite a few set up. This isn't a profile that ships with Stratoshark. This wasn't something that I had to go in and fill in. You can filter on all sorts of different activity and really be able to drill down and find information that you're interested in. So if we click up here on the command line, you can see interactive command executions. In this case, like I said, I like imagination, so I only captured me running curl in this capture. But that's what we see here. If we go up here to the file filter button, you can see, we can show only reads and writes.
There we go.
And we can see network activity, outbound connection request, and you can see where we open up a socket here, which you can then kind of maybe pivot over to Wireshark if you need to.
Oh, nice. So that event there in 1906, that's where we would start to look for how that turned into packets.
Yeah, you can correlate the time, and that maybe that's something that we can add in the future. Some sort of better tie-in for that.
Ooh, feature request already.
Yeah,
feature
exactly.
request, Gerald. Going from Stratoshark into Wireshark, but no, that's great. Thank you. And I like to. I know you're gonna show this. It looks like you're just up there on miscellaneous. In fact, I'll stop. Do you want to show us that?
Sure. We have Falco events. You have process and thread creation. Let's try that. Again, this is a very simple capture, so we're only seeing the creation of that one process that I captured, but here it is.
Nice. Good. So it's nice too. I like that comes by default in Stratoshark, that you already have some pre-built filters that are up there, already clickable buttons that we can start to use to find some common activities or adapt them to whatever it is we're looking for. Yeah. So anything else for now? Just getting started with Stratoshark.
Like I said, if you download Stratoshark for Windows or Mac OS, just keep in mind, you won't be able to do local captures just yet, but you can certainly bring in captures from Linux, either using the Sysdig CLI tool. That's probably the best way to do it, and we will try to make sure that there are plenty of interesting sample captures as well that people can play with.
All right, Gerald. Wow, that was very interesting, and it's exciting to get into that world of looking at those calls and logs. So really appreciate you coming and showing us a bit more about getting started with Stratoshark. Do you think maybe we can have you back in the future to go a little bit deeper with it?
Sure, that'd be great.
All right, very good. Well, thanks again, Gerald, for dropping by, and we'll see you again.
All right, great to be here, Chris. Thank you.